Hi creative friends, this is Soraya and thank you so much for being here. So my video today is going to be talking about the creative cycle, but I'm going to be talking more about the ebb state. So I feel that a lot of times when I read magazines or if I'm following people on social media, creators, artists, etc., a lot of focus tends to be put on the ebb state as a point of something to be fixed. Like there's something wrong. Why am I not why am I not able to create? So therefore, here are these 5 things to get you out of the ebb state type of situation. And I fell into that same trap many years ago myself, because we are socialized in a society that is a capitalist, patriarchal society, and we tend to feel that if we're not producing, there is something inherently wrong, and we have to get out of this state as quickly as possible. Nothing could be further from the truth. So the very first thing I'm going to do is read a quote by Dr. Clarissa Pinkola Estes. It's not from the book Women Who Run with the Wolves. It's actually from one of her audiobooks. So I'm going to read it. Everyone who creates struggles to keep the flow clear. All creativity is a cycle, not a singular event with no past and no future, but a cycle that has a quickening and a rising to a zenith and begins to decline and falls into a death and then an incubation, a holding or waiting period, and once again a quickening and then a rebirth. And this process continues over and over and over again, and it is this cycle that is right and proper and cohesive and sacred. And it's from her audiobook called The Creative Fire, Myths and Stories on the Cycles of Creativity. And I wholeheartedly agree with this. So all the analogies that I have found that when I want to talk about the ebb state of the creative cycle and the ebb and flow of creativity, they are all rooted in nature. And that is as it should be, because we ourselves are part of nature. So when I think about, say, certain animals that hibernate over the winter, like bears, for instance, this is crucial to their survival. This is not just something that they do whenever they feel like it. It is a natural part of their rhythmic, cycle, their life cycle. Or when we think about the ocean, well, it would be really strange to think about waves in only one state. Like a wave, it is an ebb and a flow. It just goes like, and that is a natural part of the ocean, of the waves. They come and they go. And we don't think there's anything wrong with that. We would think there was something wrong if it didn't do that. Or when I think about, say, the analogy of gardening and seeds, when we plant seeds, well, there is a period where we don't see any blooms, or say trees, for instance, they die in the winter. Not all of them, but most of them do. Or plants or flowers or, any number of things. These are all a natural part of their cycles. Well, so it is with our creative cycles. And even the most prolific artist that I know of, Picasso, he was painting right up until his death, and he created whole genres. So his creativity was a lion. It was so enormous, so massive. And even somebody like him had ebbs in his creativity. There's nothing wrong with that. It is a natural part of the creative cycle. And when we are in that ebb state, whatever we are going to do, whether you feel like you want to take up something completely new, like say cooking or baking or whatever, or even, if you're a painter and now you want to do pottery, or if you want to do nothing at all, if you just want to, go hiking or whatever. I can only speak from my experience. And I mentioned this before. About a month before I started this YouTube channel, I went through a period of my creativity being completely dormant. Like, I did not pick up a paintbrush for a year and a half. And I'm not just talking about a paintbrush. Like, I didn't draw, I didn't read books on creativity, I didn't write about creativity. Um, I did other things, like I was journaling, but I wasn't art journaling. I wasn't writing poetry or fiction or anything like that. I was journaling in the sense of healing myself, writing, about aspects of myself, et cetera, et cetera. So, um, I did things that were completely unrelated to being creative, and I didn't force myself. I didn't push myself into being creative. I didn't read books on how to be more creative. I did immerse myself in reading, but it was mostly fiction, poetry, etc. And there were times when I felt overwhelmed by sadness. I mean, I was just like really overcome with a deep sense of sadness, but I welcomed it. I witnessed it. I gave it space, because to me, it showed me how much creativity is such an integral part of me and my life. And I was sad that I wasn't doing it anymore, but I still didn't push myself to be more creative. And a lot of times, because like I said, we are living in a capitalist, patriarchal, toxic patriarchal society, we just feel like there's such a focus on do, 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 do. We have to produce, etc. But I'm going to use the analogy of the seed. When the seed is planted, there's so much that happens under the soil that we don't see, that is crucial for its blooming. And I do believe that we, like everything that is part of nature, um, we have a cellular memory. We just do. And just like a seed, whether it blooms or not, whether it's planted or not, it is going to have the whole entirety of its biology in that one seed. So even if it's a huge tree, it's going to have everything that it needs is going to be in that one seed, whether it is planted or not, whether it blooms or not. Well, we are the same way, and we have a cellular memory that is always creative. We don't have to be producing to be creative. So I think it's just a matter of understanding this on a deep level. And it's also just a slight shift in our perception, because we define creativity as, well, we are doing something. We have to be producing a painting, or, making, just say if you're a potter, well, making a pot, or even say gardening, you're creating something. So, we think there has to be something tangible in order for you to be a creator. But I think that if we just switch our perception just a little bit, and we realize that we are always creating, it doesn't matter. We don't have to produce to create. And actually, by the time you get to producing a painting or a pot or a garden or whatever it is, you have to have done a lot of the creating prior to that time. Before a painting gets to fruition and completion, I would say roughly about 80% of it, which is a really large percentage of it, has to have occurred prior to that. And all you're doing now is just gathering the pieces and putting it together in your painting or your pot or your garden. And I know this is like a very esoteric view, but I'm not the only one who feels this way. Dr. Estes talks about this at great length in her audiobook that I just mentioned. So another thing is, I just want to point out, like, so now I'm in a flow state. And I've mentioned this before as well. Like, there are so many times when I'm getting all these ideas for this and that, and, videos that I want to make, and journals that I want to do, and et cetera, et cetera. So I'm in a highly creative flow state right now. Like honestly, I can't even keep up with it. But to expect that I'm gonna be in this flow state always without any ebb is not realistic, and it's not sustainable, and it's not even desirable. And Dr. Estes talks about this as well in the story The Red Shoes. It is a story about a girl who puts on the red shoes, and she can't stop dancing. She yearns for the red shoes, but once she puts them on, she is compelled to dance and dance and dance. And that is the addictive, negative cycle of creativity, where somebody is always in the flow state. And that is not healthy. It is not is sustainable. It just isn't. And I'm going to do a whole separate video where I do talk about the red shoes, because it does talk, it links very, very much so with our creativity. So anyways, I hope that this video has eased some of your anxieties about, you know, when we are in the ebb state of our creative cycles. It's not that we're stuck. It's not. There are times when we do have stuckness in our creativity. And Picasso talked about this quite a lot. But being stuck in our creativity is a completely different thing than the natural ebb that we have, which is just a resting phase. When we're stuck in our creativity, those usually, I find, are due to things such as, well, I care too much about what other people think. I am only creating to get external validation. I am too focused on, all these things that I've learned. I'm adhering to a false set of principles that don't apply to me anymore. So when you're stuck, that is a very, very different state than when you are in an ebb state. So first you have to make the distinction. Are you in a natural ebb state of your creative cycle, or are you stuck? And, when we are stuck, I can only speak for myself on this, but Dr. Estes again talks quite at length about this in this book over here. It's an audiobook. It's The Creative Fire Myths and Stories on the Cycles of Creativity. She talks about different things that can keep us stuck. She talks about things like, especially as they pertain to women, women who are so focused on, I have to do. I have to make sure that the house is completely 100% clean before I can sit down to write my book or paint a painting. And of course, the trick is that the house is never going to be 100% clean. It just never is. I'm going to tend to everybody's needs to the point where I am burnt out, where I don't have any needs of my own. That's going to lead to a state of stuckness. So there are things that are unhealthy that are going to lead to somebody being stuck in their creativity. But that is very different than a natural ebb state of your creative cycle. So first distinguish which ones they are. And I'm going to do more videos talking about, being stuck. And Dr. Estes talks about so many of these things in great detail and at length, and of course in the poetic way that only she can talk about, with so many layers to it, and so much to digest, and so much real wisdom, and specifically how they apply to women who are socialized in under patriarchy. So I just wanted to encourage you guys, if you are in your ebb state, to just welcome it. If you want to sleep for a week, just sleep for a week. If you want to go for long walks, if you want to go hiking or do whatever, it doesn't have to be related to your creativity. It can be like, you can take up a completely, just say you're a painter and now you're in an ebb state. So you say, oh, you know what? I think I'm going to try knitting, that's completely unrelated to painting. Go for it, but my point is, don't think that it's something to be fixed. It is actually something to be welcomed, because it's in this state of like this natural ebb state that you are gathering, you are plucking from here and plucking from there. It's kind of like compost. You know, you're just taking little bits and pieces of this and that, and you're putting it all together, and it's all breaking down. And now you're going to fuel your creativity when you do get into the flow state. And you're going to fuel it in such a way that only you can fuel it, because it's only going to come through your heart, your soul, your mind, your hands. It's only going to come through you. That's the only way it's going to be made. It's going to make its way out into the world. Nobody else can bring it out. Like, nobody else can bring Dr. Estes's work into the world except for her. Like, there is nobody in all of time, in the future, in the past, in the whole wide world, out of billions of people, nobody can bring her work into the world. Only she can do that. And, you know, when we are true to ourselves and when we honor all aspects of our creative cycles, then, you know, we are now better able to bring that work into the world that only we can bring. So I hope that this video has been helpful to you. And I'm going to be making more videos on creativity, on detachment, on playing, playfulness. And actually, the way I look at it, detachment and playfulness are just different sides of the same coin, but that's another video. Anyways, I just wanted to mention that one of my eyes has, I got into the wind, and so one of my eyes is not doing very well. It's kind of like twitching. So I've been looking down a lot when I've been making this video, but I really wanted to make this video because I think it's important information, but I've been looking down a lot and I haven't been looking directly into the camera as much as I normally do, and it's because my I got some wind in my eye over here, and it's kind of like just it's kind of just twitching, as I've got a nerve in there that needs to settle down, I guess. I don't know. I guess it's just getting older. But anyways, I'm cheering you guys on, and you know, we need all different perspectives. Like, we need your perspective, and we need my perspective, and we need you know, we need everybody's perspective, because only you know, every person has their own unique perspective. So I think by delving more into these concepts of, you know, different aspects of creativity, I think we can, you know, realize that we all, as creatives, even though we are going to be different in many aspects, we also all have a lot of similarities, because there are some common aspects to the creative cycle. So anyways, if you've watched all the way to the end, thank you so much. And oh, I really appreciate any comments or questions or feedback that you guys might have, because they give me new ideas for future videos that I'm going to make. Because generally, if one person has a question or a concern or something that they're dealing with in their creative life, there's a good chance that all of us are, because like I said, there are a lot of similarities. So thank you so much for watching this video till the end, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.